on camera.
Oh,
yes.
Hi.
So welcome everybody. We are actually very here happy that we can actually in this podcast room with our this time green background, which reminds us about life sciences, introduce to you our program. So welcome. My name is Aneta Schaap-Oziemlak. I actually came to Boston a few days ago and joined Innovation Center Cambridge. And here is Donald. I will position him so he can also introduce himself shortly.
Yeah, hello.
Before we'll talk actually the main topic of our podcast.
Mm-hmm. Great. Oh yeah, hi. My name is Donald Frugé, and I am an entrepreneur, and I have developed several healthcare companies as well as a intellectual property law firm. And I met Aneta on a networking meeting, and
yeah. We're going now to actually talk more about why we decided to actually have this podcast, and so please be patient. And of course, we're sending you very warm greetings from Boston. It's great weather here, but we're also very happy to actually run this podcast together because we have developed collaborations virtually, and for 2 years we were meeting virtually and working on this program, which we're going to present to you. So we are now happy to actually sit next to each other, right, live,
yes, first time in person,
and doing live session together, which doesn't always happen. So regarding the program, what we would like to present to you. We're going to give you some short introduction, especially about for those which don't know us, and I think this is important because then, based on our background, I think this also can give you really good insights why we decided to create such a pre-incubation program for academic scientists in life sciences. And we created, I think, what I like a lot, our tagline, which is Agile IP pitching, a perfect blend of teaching, because we would like to, of course, as a practitioner, entrepreneurs, also develop something very useful, which academic scientists can pick up and develop their own entrepreneurial activity. So starting from me, I did a PhD in stem cells in Netherlands. And then I developed actually basic knowledge about blood stem cells. But what I was, of course, gaining this fundamental knowledge was important, but not the most important. The most important was to make it applicable. And that's why through the postdoc projects for postdocs, I continued working on preclinical projects, creating actually human leukemic model in mice, and looking for inhibitors which are specific, for example, kill leukemic stem cells. So that was the projects I was more and more focusing towards applications, towards solutions in regenerative medicine. And that's why I decided after 4 postdocs, we've had foots of ideas how to now develop this collaborative, especially projects, because that's what I was missing in academia at that time, that I everything in very competitive group where I was rather hidden, and we had to be very careful what we can share and what we cannot share then, but by that time. And I really was missing this collaborative factor to really develop it with academia, but also with industry together, and create really applicable solutions applying our academic knowledge. So that's something about me, and my startup is Bioinspired Think Tank. It also gives some personal feature on my personality, since I have very dynamic and enthusiastic personality, and Donald could probably experience this sitting down next to me.
Yes, exactly.
But I also would like to now give him a floor to give short introduction about his professional background. So the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Aneta. Yeah, and I think we're a lot of alike in that respect. They're very enthusiastic, and entrepreneurs tend to have personalities where they are very enthusiastic, very inquisitive, and they like to share their ideas. And so that's when Aneta and I met. We were talking about the need for pre-incubation, especially for academic scientists and life sciences. But before we get to that, I'll tell you a little bit about my background, and I'll try to keep it short as possible. So I have an undergraduate in finance, and so you say, well, what does that have to do with academic scientists? Well, I graduated during recession, and I found finally found what I wanted to do, which was healthcare. for indigent populations in South Louisiana originally, and then so that's where I got my start. And I, joined all the meetings and everything. So I always had a personal interest in emerging diseases and therapeutics since I was a child. And but anyway, so I did that, founded that company. I went on. I'm sorry to found two other companies in healthcare, and both of those companies were primary care, internal medicine, outpatient mental and behavioral health. And then we went through two rounds of VC with those companies, and then I founded a law firm, intellectual property law firm, initially dedicated to innovations in life sciences. And so that's when Aneta and I met, and then here we are. We founded and developed this program
Yeah.
to help other academic scientists.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason, so what was really behind, Donald already shortly comment about this, but what we particularly also paid attention was what kind of, core values we have by delivering this program, and or which values will carry this program. I think it's always very important to realize that when you become scientist entrepreneur, to identify what are the core values of you as an entrepreneur scientist or entrepreneur in general. And for us, especially for developing this program, was inclusion, right? We wanted to make sure that everybody has access to it. And that's why this program was created in the online format. So it's globally available. And also, especially also giving attention here to women, but also people and scientists from underserved countries, so from developing nations. And that's why this inclusion was became very important value for us by creating this program. The second value is related to my sweet spot, Agile. I don't want to talk yet about what exactly this is all about, but I will tell you in the moment. I will explain you in the moment. It's about actually iterative learning process. And entrepreneurship is a sort of learning journey. You don't know it all at the beginning. You have to learn. You have to experience ecosystem. You have to talk to many people, including investors, including other scientists, other entrepreneurs, and that's the way you shape this path for yourself. In collaborative or solopreneurship way, of course. But this is definitely continuous improvement in terms of learning. It's a learning curve in a way. So that was very important that this also will be implicated in this program. So starting from perspective academic, we wanted also bring it here in this podcast a little bit how academic scientists usually think. And tell you why, what is the why of academic scientists. Of course, why of academic scientists mainly based on performing experiments, right? To answer this why, right? Why certain hypothesis can be validated and how it can be validated. And in a way, life of every individual scientist, I also spent many years in academia, is mainly based on individual experiments, proving yourself at some point, especially when you are postdoc, that you can perform experiments, design them and perform them independently and prove your hypothesis. And finally, publish it. And publishing is really the holy grail in academia, and everybody which are academia probably understands me very well here. But what is a little bit forgotten in this, busy days when you do experiments and write manuscripts and then publishing it, because that also takes some time, is actually IP value of the data, experimental data you created. And I'm talking here about, for example, patents. There's no really time for that, and even recognition of bigger picture of what have you created and what kind of IP value your data carry with. It's not even, I think, taken into consideration very often. And of course, if you publish, you cannot patent. Well, there are some exceptions, but there's always this discussion, publish or patent. And in academia, definitely publish is the strongest drive and demand. But when you look from the other perspective as entrepreneurs, we see that as an entrepreneur, of course, scientist entrepreneur, you don't work individually. You can, but usually you collaborate with people. You're more interdependent, and you live in business ecosystem, so you're part of it. So it's more teamwork driven. Even you collaborate, it's still collaborative teamwork. And definitely you learn more about, especially in terms of life sciences, more about IP value, because in the end you want to capitalize this knowledge and create patent which you can sell potentially, and get revenue, and create sustainable, in a way, model for funding your project. So that's another way how this data can be turned into IP and patents, and selling patents can be a good revenue model for that. So it's a little bit different in a way, perspective and activities you think about relating this data, scientific data which you produced, and make them really applicable. And I think that's something which I like to give as a pictures to these two pictures, because I think it's important to realize at the beginning, before we dive into this program, actually about these differences between academic research and entrepreneurial path. And now I think it would be good if I think Donald would give you some introduction, first general, about this program. So I will give floor to him.
Fantastic. Thank you, Aneta. Yeah, and as Aneta mentioned, this is the main reason that we designed the program, because there was this need to make sure that people understand in the, if they're transitioning from academic world to an entrepreneurial world, even before you go out there, to have these tools available. So we collectively designed this program together to develop a 5-day program that is a 4 hours per day program.
Yeah.
And typically, so that way, people that are working, they can participate in the program. And we cover 3 main pillars within the 5 days, which Aneta has mentioned a couple of them. One is the Agile workshops and Agile team building, and in the intellectual property piece, which is the critical part in terms of the need to make sure that you protect your ideas before you share them, which leads us to the third pillar, which is about how to do a pitch. Once you perfect your agile methodologies around agile team building and etc. And understanding intellectual property and why you need to protect it before you go out and promote it. And then we'll teach you the pitching skills that you need to be able to pitch to different audiences. One in particular is the most important, is the financial, so venture capital or angel investors, or friends and family, as we call it. So we have areas that we're going to talk about, like how to protect your idea while you're pitching, before you're pitching, but also while you're pitching. Even if once you protect things, you got to make sure you don't share too much of your idea when you're developing the pitch, but you also have to get the message out about what you're, so we're going to teach you how to pitch. We're also going to teach you how not to pitch, which is, those two go hand in hand. So essentially, there's some strategies there that we will go through in the course that will show you some of the pointers, some success stories, and some horror stories, I guess you'd say, of pitches that seem very good from the outset, but the market that the audience that you're pitching to is actually looking for a very specific type of pitch, and we'll go through that. And then we'll allow everybody a chance in the program to be able to get on stage, so to speak, online on stage, and pitch their idea in terms of not a real idea, because unless of course you have it protected, but we'll allow everybody to do that and get some real world feedback on that. And so I guess next slide. Mm-hmm. Or unless you have something to talk about.
I think yes, it's important to exercise this pitching, and as what Donald said, how to do it while protecting it and how not to do it, so that you can clearly see the difference between these two different types of exercises. So you become more aware how you communicate, actually, because it's all about communication, right? How you communicate it while protecting. And now I think I would like to switch to my sweet spot, which is Agile. Agile, I think the essence of Agile, which is my business philosophy, actually became also my living philosophy. It's in the end, I told you already about iterative learning process, but also learning by doing. So really, instead of studying books about entrepreneurship, really experiencing in a workshop format. And this is a fantastic opportunity for everybody who will join the full program to really learn how to work and what does it mean really to work in agile way. And this workshop is about team building, because when you start thinking about entrepreneurship, at some point you will have perspective or question even from investor, how you're going to cast your team, your future team. And it's better to have some answers, and being prepared is a very good thing. And this workshop allows you to become very well prepared, actually, how to do it in practice. So we will start for identifying your personal strengths. Then, with other participants, we will, in the group of individuals, right, learn about agile methodology, some basics, so that you can able to understand what agile is about and how to work under agile frame, or in an agile work frame. And then we'll develop team activity, which is following agile in a way guidelines. And then finally, this team will perform as a top team by generating what I call team power statement, which can be very useful, because it can be used as a mission statement for your company when you first time start with writing business plan, which is very different than academic publication. It starts with actually what is the mission statement of your team, of your company, so or your startup. So that will definitely, this workshop also bring you the results which you can directly apply to your business plan. So this is important, because this will going to teach you how to cast a team and how to work in agile way. The second workshop is, I think, as important, because once you set a team, you have to also decide as a founder, because that doesn't have to become this way, that as a founder becomes CEO, so chief executive officer, but it can be. So if you have this aspirations as a founder or co-founder, of course, becoming a leader is not being founder only, but it's actually developing vision for the company, long-term vision. And this workshop, Shape Your Leadership, will help you again in learning by doing, to understand the leader mindset. So who as a leader you would like to become. There will be then short introduction about agile leadership. What does it mean to become agile leader? And then we will express during the third session, actually, we call it practitioner case on stage, where we're going to give you with Donald some challenges. If we would be horrible bosses, because every CEO is probably having investor, which investor can be also a boss, but we will not play two horrible bosses, but challenging coaches, which will give you some assignments to practice this on the stage, and how you would, tackle particular challenge in the leadership, if you would set up your company. And then the first session is about directing your leadership, because I believe that of course, it's important to develop this personal leadership style based on your unique personal strengths, but also it's important to answer, and also during this workshop, understand where you go with this vision. So what is the higher purpose of it? So with this direction, and directing your vision, also will be important how you will empower your team, because that's what you should not forget if you are truly good, authentic leader. So that will be the Shape Your Leadership workshop about. And now we'll switch to the second important pillar of this program, which is sweet spot, I believe, of Donald.
Absolutely.
And he will tell about IP, what we're going to experience in this program, Donald.
Absolutely, Aneta. Thank you. So definitely my sweet spot. Intellectual property is critically important to developing any company, whether it's a life science company or otherwise. A lot of times people think they don't have intellectual property. Well, every company has intellectual property, and every entrepreneur should learn about it before stepping out into the marketplace. So we're going to talk about the sort of shifting perspectives that are happening in the marketplace, but we're going to also have some perspectives from worldwide, as you can see on the screen, worldwide perspective, team perspective, leader perspective, and we have some guest speakers around this. We're going to cover all the areas of intellectual property. What is intellectual property? The different types of intellectual property. What do they mean? What are they used for? Maybe some anecdotal strategies around that. And then also about the importance of utilizing intellectual property to protect yourself before you go public, and hence the pre-incubation concept. So here we have some prominent speakers that are going to join and talk about their experiences in intellectual property. So from a worldwide perspective, we're very fortunate to have all the speakers, but we're exceptionally fortunate to have Dr. Lois Wahlberg. He's an entrepreneur, a neuroscientist.
And with
He's
patents,
Yeah,
right?
with
He's
patents.
really
He
with
has
a great portfolio.
great
Yes.
portfolio of patents, and he's also European, and he's also American, so he can give us a perspective, definitely from the worldwide, but also his intellectual property is utilized in many fashions. So he's going to share some of his stories and some of his experiences with you during the program. We also have, from a team perspective, Dr. Peter van Dogen from the Dutch Patent Office. He's going to talk about this team approach, working with universities, working with university tech transfer offices, working with community leaders and individual entrepreneurs within the
And
community.
universities
How,
also.
yeah, universities and their intellectual property tech transfer offices. Also, we're going to have an intellectual property attorney. He's worked globally. He worked many years for big pharma out of Europe, and he also is a founder. He's one of the most unique intellectual property attorneys around because he's worked on sort of all sides of intellectual property. He was a patent examiner for the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. He's worked for large law firms. He's also worked as a litigator in intellectual property and a founder of 12 years Finney Law Group. He and I founded Finney Law Group together to take both of our experiences and bring the to life science companies. And so he's going to share his experience about things that have happened, both good and bad, anecdotal, and give you some perspective on why it's important and how, share some, small strategies of when getting started. And then finally, last and not least, we have Dr. Amici, who's going to join us. She's an associate professor of entrepreneurship from Johnson Wales University here in the United States. She's going to share her perspectives from a perspective of a woman in entrepreneurship, as a minority in entrepreneurship, and also working. She's the founder of a micro loan program for women in developing nations, and she's going to talk about the importance of intellectual property and entrepreneurship from a very small level, and about how there can be impacts there. So again, we're very fortunate to have these speakers, and they'll share their insights with you during the program.
Mm-hmm. So we will also shortly say maybe something about IP success stories, right? But not too much, because we don't want to spoil and actually share too much yet about before the full program. So Donald is going to maybe shortly comment on the IP success stories, which we're going to talk about during full program, but now maybe a little bit a little bit of information we can share.
Exactly. So we'll have some more real world experience and some workshops, and attorney Feeney will be joining us, and he'll be talking about how to create value, again expanding on some of the things that he talked about during the introduction, and understanding intellectual property a little bit more, getting into some ideas about how you can do licensing strategies, like in licensing from universities or from companies or from think tanks, how to build value utilizing existing IP or building on your own IP. And then also, dealing with the tech transfer office, how to approach them, some real world success stories that we've had working with tech transfer in the United States and also out of Europe. And then some examples of success stories about how he packaged intellectual property that was sitting on the shelf. We say sitting on the shelf and collecting dust. Again, intangibles, they don't really collect dust, but they were basically not being utilized. And they packaged these patents together and went out on the marketplace and promoted them to find investors. And these two companies were the result of intellectual property that was not being utilized. And so you can actually create a company by taking different patents from different places and putting them together and creating some value there. So we'll go through that in greater detail.
Exactly. This you will learn more. And I think this gives you a kind of way to go how I could do that. So to summarize, I think unique highlights of this program is, of course, under frame of learning by doing, is to how to pitch while protecting, but also how not to pitch. So exercising pitching. Then in terms of Agile workshops, how to build a team. And Agile is also being adaptable. I think I don't want to spoil more than that. And also how to develop your personal leadership style if you have aspirations to become a leader in the company or C-level manager. And finally, also what I also love the most in our programs, the speakers, which you Donald very nicely introduced and their background, the established global speakers, which are not only established in the IP field, but also in entrepreneurship. And finally, we'll have day 5 of the program when we will celebrate globally what have we learned. But Donald, what exactly are we going to celebrate?
Well, we're going to celebrate all the achievements that we've learned during the program. But I think my favorite part of, obviously, is the question and answer session, because you can really get into some of those areas where people have similar questions, but also unresolved questions that we weren't able to cover during the program. You've had time to think about it. And so that's really my favorite part, is this question and answer session, because you can really help people sort of tie it all together. But Aneta, and my second favorite, I guess, is just celebrating the achievements of the program, and networking a little bit, and then question and answer, some more question and answer.
Yeah,
So,
if there would be still some burning questions, which I believe that after day 5 you may be more digested the knowledge and also what you have learned during workshops. So we can always we are very happy to answer all this challenging last burning questions, right?
yep,
So
exactly.
and of course, this program is a paid program. We have limited numbers of spaces, so please also hurry, because I will place the information in the comments how to register for full program. It's affordable. It's only $395 compared to many programs which I've seen, which are running for even $1,100.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's pretty affordable for a budget of academic scientists, especially related to personal development, which I know that it's very limited. And we have 5 places for budding or academic scientists from underserved countries at no cost. So just really to give these guys opportunity to get this education and learn something very, very useful. So I think by that we would like to close.
Yes.
The final I think part of this podcast. Thanking you for actively listening. And
yes, thank you very much. We really appreciate your attending our first podcast, and
yes,
there'll be
together.
more to come.
Yes.
And if anybody has any questions, I think there's some contact information that
I will also share.
Yes.
Yeah, I will share in the under the live session in the comments. I will share the contact information.
Perfect.
So,
great.
You can see it, and you can contact.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out,
us.
and we'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have about things that you've heard today and about the program.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks a lot again, and as I said, it's I think it was really nice to do it together.
Very, very nice. We've done
maybe
it
next
online.
Yes, maybe next podcast
will
run from Providence, when Donald is based, his office is
right.
based. So there will be more podcasts, and I think that also is going to bring you maybe some deeper understanding of the program and how valuable this is to join the full one. So
again, thank you.
Thank you. Warm greetings, and see you next time.
See you next time.